How do you draft user stories? We're going to do a walkthrough and draft user stories from 0 to the full set of stories. What's happening, softwarepreneurs? Welcome back to Swattage, the Software Innovation Lab. If you're new here, my name is Dale Richards. I'm a software innovator from Salt Lake City, Utah, and I love making software that changes the world. I'm building a SaaS product from concept to cash, and I'm taking you with me for the ride. If you want to change the world, build apps, grow your SaaS business, and make money doing cool software entrepreneur-related stuff, start now by subscribing and hitting the bell. Okay, it's Monday morning, it's super early. We're gonna sit down and pound out a complete set of user stories. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our value proposition canvas with our customer jobs on it, and we're going to use that as the backbone for walking through and drafting user stories from A to Z for this application. So let's go ahead and start with a blank slate, clean spreadsheet. I'm going to show you exactly how I like to draft user stories, so which columns to add, and how to go about doing that drafting. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm starting with a clean spreadsheet, clean Google Sheet. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and put a title in here. Newbie user stories. What? Version 1. I'm going to put version 0.1. When we create user stories, we want to make sure that we have specific fields or columns. So basically, descriptions of each user story that match certain characteristics. So each user story is going to have a number, and we'll talk about the numbering a little bit later. We're going to have a summary, a description. I typically like to have a user type, especially for those kinds of SaaS products where you have more than one type of user. And we'll go ahead and leave it at that for now. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and give myself a little bit more room here under summary and under description. If you recall, we had in our value proposition canvas, we had these customer jobs for this dental student trade school management app. So the instructors / administrators, they need to be able to onboard new students into the app. They want to track the student skill pass-offs. They want to store student documents like immunizations and practice site information. They want to manage internship placement, track the student success in internships, get intern employer feedback, track the completion of internship hours, that was a crucial one, and then also track the student success in employment and report success rates to the state, and provide accreditation and compliance proof. So let's start with there are three basic user stories that I always add to every application, and they are basically create account, login, and reset password. So basically, as a new user, I want to create an account so I can access the app. As a user, I want to log in so I can use the app. And as a user, I want to reset my password so I can regain access to the app. All right. Okay. Now, in terms of user types, all of the users, if we have multiple user types, so for example, a student versus an instructor versus a dentist or a dental office manager, all of the user types are going to need to be able to create an account, log in, and reset their passwords. So that's easy enough. Okay, so now let's pretend that I am the dental instructor, the dental assistant instructor at the trade school. So I want to onboard new students. So once I've created my own account and I've onboarded myself, I need to be able to add students. So I'm going to create a story for add a student. So I'm going to create a user story. Actually, let's make that add a new student manually. So as an instructor, I want to add a new student to my we'll call it to my classroom, so they can access the application. No, let's change it. Let's change the so that I can see and manage their documents in progress. There we go. We've got the text bleeding over here past the edge of this column. We're going to go ahead and change the wrapping format, text wrapping wrap, and also we're going to change the alignment so that the vertical alignment is in the middle. All right, that's very nice. So I'm an instructor. I add a new student manually. Okay. So then as a new student, so this is the instructor user type. Okay. And let's see, if I'm a student, then I want to accept some kind of invitation to create my account, which takes us back to create account. So what we're going to do is we're going to say that this story includes things like instructor sends email invitation, the student receives and accepts an email invitation. All right. Now let's pretend I'm the new student. I need to complete my profile, right? So do I really need to complete my profile? No, let's go ahead and skip that. So I'm a new student. I need to upload certain documents, right? So no, we do want them to complete their profile because let's add one called complete profile. So as a student, I want to add profile details like profile, like a okay, I really don't know if I need this story or not. So I can use my profile as a job hunting tool. So basically, I'm saying that as I'm a student, I want to be able to send my profile to different employers and let them know more about me and my background and my interest in working at their practice. So now there are a lot of things that might be included in completing a profile. Let's go ahead and think of some of those right now. I want to be able to write a little bio. I want to be able to add my academic history. So like my like where I went to high school, for example. Add relevant work experience. So if I've already worked somewhere in another industry, I want to be able to show that I've been a good worker. If I have prior dental experience, I want to include that here as well. Let's see. And parallel to that, let's also say I'm going to add a profile. Let's call it a profile photo. So as a user, and we're going to make it possible for all the users to add a profile photo, not just the students. So for example, the faculty as well, like the instructors. As a user, I want to upload a profile photo so other users can see what I look like. Or let's change this to so other users can feel more like they're interacting with me personally. Okay. All right, so we've logged in, we've created our account, we've completed our profile, we've added some information about us, we've added a profile photo. Okay, so now if we go back to the business model canvas, to the value proposition canvas, then we can see we've onboarded the new students. We want to track the students' skill pass-offs. So I think first thing is that somehow those skills need to get entered into this tool. So we need to create a story called add edit skills for pass off. So as an instructor or administrator, I want to add skills that the students will be required to pass off, so I can track which students have passed off which skills. Okay, and again, this is the instructor user type. We'll say instructor/admin. So basically, I've added the skills now into the system, so they're there. Now, as a student, I need to be able to see which skills I'm supposed to pass off. So view skills. As a student, I want to see all the skills I am required to pass off, so I can know what to work on next. That's a student. Actually, let's change this summary to view skills student. And let's create another one, view skills instructor. As an instructor, I want to view all the skills for a particular student, so I can guide that student into what they should do next. That's the instructor. Let's see. And let's also create one called view skills, view class skills for the instructor. No, let's change this to view my students' skills instructor. As an instructor, I want to see a summary of all my students, so I can see which students. Now let's see. As an instructor, I want to see a summary of all my students so I can see which. The point of the story is that I can see which student is where, and so which students need help and then which students I should focus on. So let's write, as an instructor, I want to see a summary of all of my students' skills progress so I can know which students need extra help. We'll put that for the instructor. Great. All right, so I can see all my students. I can see which students are progressing, which ones aren't, where they are. I can, let's see. we already said that we want to be able to view the skills or for a student. Excuse me. We want to be able to see as an instructor the skill progress of a particular student. Okay. Let's see. The next job on our customer jobs was to store student documents like the immunizations record and the practice site information. So we'll call this view document file student. As a student, I want to view all the files, all the documents in my file so I can see which documents I have versus those I still need to upload. That's the student. As the, let's see, upload document student. As a student, I want to upload a document from my computer so I can add it to my document file. Now, there was another use case that Chandra mentioned in her interview. She said that a lot of times the students just take a picture of these documents. So we're going to say upload document from mobile device. From mobile photos. How about that? As a student, I want to upload a document from my photo roll on my mobile device so I can simplify that process of adding a document. I don't like the way that's worded. As a student, I want to upload a document from my photo roll. As a student, I want to upload a photo from my mobile device and use that photo as a document so I can avoid having to scan, save, and upload from my computer. Well, it's probably not perfect, but I'm not going to worry about it. I'll leave it here the way it is for now and keep moving. Okay. The summary, though. Is the summary right? Upload document from mobile device. Upload photo as document from mobile device. Okay, great. So now, how do we know which documents are required? So let's actually create a story for add required documents. As an instructor / admin, I want to configure the application with documents required by my students so I can know which students have submitted which documents. That's the instructor / admin. So basically we're saying we need a place for the admin or the instructor to say, okay, every student needs to have an immunization form. Every student needs to have a site information sheet. Every student needs to have whatever those documents are. We need to be able to kind of have a place where, hey, you're missing these documents. Add them now. Great. Then let's also have a view my students documents summary instructor. As an instructor admin, I want to see a report, or basically a progress widget showing me which students have and haven't uploaded a particular document, so I can follow up with those students who have not yet uploaded it. Okay, good. So we've gotten through storing student documents, immunizations and practice site. Great. Manage internship placement. Okay, so first the student needs to be able to put, they need to create their internship site info, basically. So they need to upload this document that says, this is where my internship is going to happen. Maybe that document is no longer a document. Maybe it's more like a screen or a set of fields somewhere. So actually, let's go ahead and make that change right now. So we're going to go ahead and say, add my practice site information. As a student, I want to add my practice site information so my instructor can see where I will be interning. That's the student. Okay, and then also view practice site information student. As a student, I want to be able to view my practice site information so I can review and correct it if necessary. Student. Let's say also edit practice site information. As a student, I want to edit my practice site information so I can make changes if needed. Are those two stories the same? One is talking about just viewing the information, the other is talking about editing it, actually making changes. I think they're different enough. Okay, so we've got add the practice site information, view the practice site information, and edit the practice site information. All right, cool. Now, as an instructor, I want to be able to view practice site information from our students. As an instructor, I want to see the practice site information for a particular student so I can, for example, contact the practice site. How about also seeing a practice site summary? That's so that the instructor can tell who does have a practice site lined up and who does not. As an instructor, I want to see a summary of which students do and don't have a practice site lined up so I can make sure all my students secure internships. Okay, track student success in there. Okay, so manage internship placement. That's what we're doing with being able to view the practice site information. Okay, great. We have a job for tracking students' success in internships. That's pretty vague. I think what that means is that we need to be able to send questions to the practice site employer and get responses back. So that means that we have this whole set of features around surveying the employers. So I want to create employer survey. As an instructor/admin, I want to create an employer survey so I can gather feedback about my students. Oh. Instructor/admin. Okay. Great. And then we need to be able to send the employer survey. As an instructor, gosh, my typing this morning is crazy. As an instructor, I want to send the employer survey to my students' site, practice site employers, so I can collect their feedback. Okay, view survey results. As an instructor, I want to see reports of survey data. Let's say I want to see reports and summary data for a survey so I can see how many practice sites have responded. View. Let's change the summary of this previous to view survey results summary. And then make a new one called view survey results for a student. As an instructor, I want to drill down to the specific feedback about each student so I can help them improve. Now the question is, does the student actually need to see that survey feedback? I do not know. Let's go ahead and add it. View survey results. View my practice site feedback. As a student, I want to see the feedback provided by my practice site so I can improve my skills. We'll call that, oh, that's the student user type. And then we'll put a question here. Okay, this brings up a good point. I also like to add a column for like open questions or comments. So basically this is the placeholder where I put whatever comments that I still need to, or questions I still need to address. So do we need this? Okay. So we talked about tracking student success in internships and getting intern employer feedback. So if I am the employer, I need to be able to actually fill out the survey. We missed that. Complete employer feedback. Let's call it provide employer feedback. As an employer, I want, let's say as a practice site employer, I want to answer questions in the employer survey so I can provide feedback on my intern. This is our first story for the employer user type. Yay. Okay, and great. So I think that takes us up to getting the intern employer feedback and tracking the student success. The next job was tracking the completion of internship hours. So here we go. Um, so let's say add time entry. As a student, I want to add a time entry. Oh gosh, so here we go. Let's think through this. Do we want to be able to just let them add a time entry, or should we have them like clock in and clock out? I think it is a question of how rigid do we need to be in terms of the data that we store? Do we need to prove that they were actually at the job site? I mean, doesn't the signature of the employer do that already? As a student, I want to add well, we'll put it down for now and then come back to it. So as a student, I want to add a time entry for a session worked at my practice site so my employer can sign off that I worked that session. Student. Okay, let's add one for clock in and out. As a student, I want to clock in and out of my practice site session so I can keep a precise record of the time I worked there. Student. So I'm a student, I come to work, I clock in, I work, I clock out, and then we need to notify the employer to sign off on that entry. So notify employer of new hours worked. As an employer, I want to receive a notification that my intern has worked a session, has added hours worked so I can sign off on those hours. It's the employer. And then there's actually the sign off. So sign off on hours worked. As an employer, I want to sign off on hours worked so my student can receive the credit. Is that really their motivation? Probably not. Their motivation is so that no one will bother me and ask me to sign anything or to provide more confirmation. But basically, the employer needs to sign off on these hours worked. Okay, so get intern employer feedback, track completion of internship hours, track students' success in employment. So we have already added user stories for creating an employer survey, sending an employer survey, and viewing survey results summary. Perhaps what we need to do is to distinguish the practice site survey from a full-time employment survey. So if we are already creating an employer survey, maybe we need to have something like select survey type. As an instructor or administrator, I want to select whether a new survey should be a mid-practice, a mid-internship feedback survey, or a follow-up full-time employment survey, so I can distinguish the two. Okay, I think that needs validation. I think that we need to answer some questions about that. But this is not the employer user type, this is the instructor. Actually, this is really the admin. I don't think that Chandra said that she doesn't really ever worry about following up with the students after they're in full-time employment. That's more something for the administrator to do to satisfy state and accreditation requirements. So then we need to view accreditation report. As an admin, I want to view a report showing a program's readiness for accreditation, so I can know which requirements are still unmet. What if they're all met? As an admin, I want to view a report showing a program's readiness for accreditation so I can know which requirements are still unmet. Maybe we'll have one called export final accreditation report. As an admin, I want to be able to export an accreditation report so I can report on progress or submit documents for accreditation renewal. And isn't that it? So we've onboarded the new students, we've tracked their pass-offs, we've stored their documents, we've managed their internship placement, we've managed their, we've gotten feedback from the employer, we've tracked the completion of their hours, we've gotten the sign-offs from the employers that those hours were actually worked. We've tracked their student success rate in their employment and reported rates to the state and provided accreditation compliance proof. I think this is actually a good basic set of user stories for this use case. So I think we're going to go ahead and leave it at that. That means so far we've got 33 user stories. We've got 34 rows minus the top row. So we have 33 user stories. And I know that some of these are going to require some additional information, but so far so good. I think we have a good starting point. So there you go, a complete set of user stories from A to Z for this application. 33 user stories, that's a pretty good little chunk. I'm sure there are things that we've forgotten. I'm sure there are going to be edge cases, use cases, things like that that we'll realize that are missing. But sometimes you need to just sit down and draft the set of user stories so you can chart the path of your user through your application. And we did that in what, like 40 minutes, 30, 40 minutes or so. So don't agonize over your user stories. Just get them out of your head and into the document. All right, we're going to do some other things with these user stories, like we're going to create a user story map that will help us check to ensure that we have the right user stories. Maybe there's something we've forgotten, and so we can actually use that mapping process to kind of fill in the blanks or identify some of the gaps that we have. And that'll get us closer to having a more complete, polished set of user stories. All right, see you next time. Join us again. Videos are published every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12 noon Mountain Time.